Hey everybody, I'm Donny Fraser from the Skateboarding Advisory, and this is a quick discussion around skate park audits. What are they? Who are they for? Why do we need them? And just a really good briefing on a bit of an update on, I guess, passing that info on the councils and what to expect and what they're for to give you as much knowledge as possible on what a skate park audit is. So firstly, who they're for. They're generally for the councils, Brisbane City, Logan, all the different councils around Australia that have skate parks need to get their parks audited. There's sometimes some private facilities too, and that's really focused on maintenance, repairs, and future planning. So if you're from a local government in a sport parks or asset section, this might be a little helpful brief for you to get a bit of an understanding on skate park audits there too. The why we do them. So there's a lot of reasons. Recently, there's been an Australian standard passed in the last few years on regularly having audits on parks and facilities. This isn't just skate parks. This is a broader scope. That also includes the safety aspect of them too. So that can be things like cracks in the concrete. Coping that sticks out too far, but I think the forgotten one is often shade. Shade's a big part. These skate parks get used for hours at a time, and they're quite hot. They are very hot in the summertime. So looking at shade and how you can incorporate shade in your facilities is a big part of these audits as well, and can really help make them a more better community place for you to have your community go and skate and hang out and have barbecues and things like that too. Planning ahead is also a big part. If your region's looking at having a major facility at some point, or upgrading some, or doing some repairs, like knowing what you're in for to maintain the ones you've already got, and a bit of a plan around those can be pretty crucial to making that happen as well. So what it does do is it gives the council a complete scope of all their facilities, and what they can expect as far as repairs, which ones are in good condition, which ones are modern, and gives them a really good indication of what to look for going forward. So I guess if you're curious about what like an audit looks like, you'll generally have some sort of experts in that field. Sometimes they're the tradesmen themselves, and sometimes they're not. And what they'll do is they'll come out to site to each facility, do a complete walkthrough and assessment, which is, firstly mapping out all the obstacles you've got there. On top of that, once you've mapped out all the obstacles, you'll check for cracks, you'll check for damage, you'll check for areas where like water will run onto the course, if there's not adequate drainage, anything that's a particularly old, dangerous obstacle, look the level of the surface. I mean, quite often, I know there's a request for what's called a Schmidt hammer test, which sort of tests the tensile strength of the concrete. And, while it's a valuable tool, I find with skate parks that quite often the lifespan of the park is really dependent on the surface. And once the surface gets beyond repair, it gets too costly to actually replace. So I think with the Schmidt hammer test, while it's a good guide, I think, discretion of the auditors to the surface of the concrete and how repairable it is probably one of the most vital things. Most of them will normally do an assessment on whether it's got, lighting and shade or basic things like that, that can help improve it. Even things like toilets. I don't know why, but people think that skateboarders and skate park users don't use toilets, so they tend to want these skate parks there in the middle of the field, in the middle of the sun, and just leave them to their own devices. But generally, they'll go out, look at all the facilities, map that into a bit of a document, and if it's the concreters or the repairman will actually get a bit of a scope on how to do the repairs, what it looks like. Sometimes you get some draft costings as well. And then once that audit's complete and the council has a bit of a repair sheet, normally they'll go out to tender for someone to go and repair those. And if it's very minor, parks in pretty good condition, sometimes it's done internally by the councils themselves. It's really important to make sure that when they're doing these things, they're doing them right. I've seen instances where someone's repaired a skate park and the repairs weren't done correctly, and it costs nearly 4 times as much to actually go back and fix what the repairman did. So I think you need to make sure you pick wisely and get someone who knows exactly how to repair these things, because they are complicated, and they take a lot of impact. They're out in the weather. So you're going to make sure that when you do get your repairs done after your audits, that you've got the right people for the job. So I guess when you get these done, yearly's good. I think yearly is probably the go-to at the moment. I know it depends on how many facilities you've got and what standard they are. So most people normally, once they get their first audit, they can kind of assess based on the level of their facilities and the sort of work that needs to be done, that how often they're going to need one. So it could be a couple of years or it could be 18 months, depending on the condition of the parks they've currently got in place as well. So I think if you're looking at from A to B, if you're a council and you've got facilities, you would reach out to an auditor. They would come assess the facilities, give you a scope, which is your repairs and everything in between. Maybe some minor upgrades, maybe some parks that are end of life need to be demolished, and then you'll go get yourself a tradesman and hire someone to attend the process and find the right person to go and execute those repairs. And what you'll get with that is you'll have some nice new fixed up skate parks in a short period of time that are going to be a lot more user friendly and better for the community. The only recommendations that we would make is, I know if you've got someone doing the audit, it's always better to have someone different do the repairs. We've seen times where I guess skate parks have needed to be demolished, and the auditor is in charge of the repairs, so they've recommended to do a $300,000 resurface, whereas it would have been more effective to knock that facility down and build a new $400,000 one that would last for another 15 years. So with a lot less ongoing maintenance. So it's really important to think about that. Like, you want your advice to be neutral, and there's a number of different auditors out there that can go and do that too. But we're in a really interesting place in Australia right now where there was a massive build of skate parks probably 20 to 25 years ago all around Australia. A huge volume of our skate parks are very, very old now, and they're all coming to end of life. So there is a real window here where some of these older parks are going to need to be demolished and rebuilt. And it's definitely worth making sure you're getting the right advice on that. If you're looking for some contacts with different auditors or different people who can do the repairs, us here at the Skateboard Advisory, we've got a whole heap of network and contacts there. So feel free to reach out if you have any questions, or if you want to try and find an auditor or find someone who can do the maintenance. We're more than happy to provide the contacts. We don't do that here ourselves, but we have a broad network of people who do. Hope this was helpful.